Happy Monday, guys. Happy Monday before Thanksgiving. Welcome and thank you so much for tuning in. I am Abra Kurt, a certified integrative life and wellness coach and lifestyle designer, and you are watching my series Sparked. Sparked is a weekly lifestyle series and its own vibrant online community that meets right here in the comments of the show every single week. We light fires around connection, reflection, and inspiration about all things personal growth, wellness, and the world around us. So if you're a dreamer, a doer, or just anyone in search of a more meaningful, fulfilling, or more joyful life, you are in the right place, my friend. So as you are hopping on, please say hi, let me know you're here, and start connecting. I am seeing Scott is here. Hi, babe. Mama Vicky, it's so great to see you here. Dana, it's awesome to see you. Rose and George, so great to see you. As you all are hopping on, please say hi, let me know you're here, and start connecting. We have a great show lined up this evening. Every single week here at Sparked, we have content around a specific theme, and I will share some tips and resources to help you take action on some things in your own life. And you will also see in our show description some links to support our content and community, because it is through the generosity of viewers like you. It's the holidays, right? It feels like a good time for a pledge drive. It is through the generosity of viewers like you that this show keeps up and running, and that we are able to deliver new and inspiring content week after week after week. And this is like, we've done over 20 live episodes since we launched our live shows all the way back in May for Mental Health Awareness Month. So thank you to everyone who has ever supported this show in all of its iterations and our content. And I would also like to say a very special thank you. Hi, Georgie. It is so great to see you. Donna, happy Thanksgiving week to you. I want to say a very special thank you to Donna, to Georgie, and to my mama-in-law, Vicky, for your generous support over the past week. Thank you so much. It is thanks to you guys and everyone else who has contributed to this show that we are able to keep it up and running week after week after week. And not just on Thanksgiving week, but every single week here at Sparked, we pay it forward with a 10% contribution to a great nonprofit charity organization doing important work in our local communities and across the country. And I will tell you a little bit more about this week's charity later on in the episode. I'm super excited for the work that we are going to be supporting tonight. So if you are so inclined, please consider a contribution, be generous, keep the show going, and you will help us pay it forward to charity with a 10% contribution. All right, you guys. Yeah, winter is coming. Winter is coming. Now, we may not be living in a Game of Thrones episode, thank goodness, but here in the Northern Hemisphere, where I am and where I think most of you are, I know I have some friends who tune in from Australia from time to time, but where most of us are here in the Northern Hemisphere, winter is coming just around the corner. And though it's not Game of Thrones kind of harsh out there, it does mean that the days will be getting shorter, the darkness will be growing and extending longer, and the temperatures are going to be dropping. And for some of our friends, this is a particularly challenging season when it comes to maintaining our mental and emotional well-being, right? Seasonal affective disorder impacts a lot of us. And the concept of Hygge can help us weather this season with a little bit more comfort and joy, right? So now that we know how to pronounce it, maybe not everybody knows what Hygge is, but now we at least know how to say it, right? Tonight, I am going to share some tips for cultivating Hygge in our homes and in our hearts to weather the season with a little more joy and a little bit more comfort. We are actually also going to play a couple rounds of winter is coming trivia. And I'm going to share some of my own favorite hygge-like things for the winter months. Some things that bring me particularly big amounts of comfort and joy for the winter season. So, if that sparks your interest, please send up some hearts and hit that share button, because you know what? Winter is coming for most of us, right? Those of us in the Northern Hemisphere anyway. So, if that sparks your interest, please send up some hearts, hit that share button, and let's spread some winter warmth and comfort in our social media feeds, because who couldn't use a bit more goodness like that, right? Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you. Let me know that you shared it after you shared, and send up some hearts for Hygge and Happiness, which is tonight's topic. All right. Before we dive in, you guys know, we always kick things off here at Sparked with, you know what time it is. It is time for the quote of the week, and it's one of my favorite segments on Sparked, and I know you guys love it too. And it's that time in the show where I share a few words from an author or a philosopher or even a celebrity from time to time that inspire me, and particularly that relate to the theme of the day's show. And thank you, Mama Vicky, for hitting that share button. Tonight we are talking about Hygge and Happiness. And yes, Scott says quote, George says quote. Everybody loves the quote of the week. And tonight's quote of the week is going to be from the British poet Dame Edith Sitwell. I just love her name, and she's a dame. So Dame Edith Sitwell is giving us this week's quote of the week, and it is: winter is the time for comfort, for good food and warmth, for the touch of a friendly hand, and for a talk beside the fire. It is the time for home. Now, I always love the quote of the week because I choose the quotes of the week, but this one just warms my heart, literally even more so than many of them. I love that first and last line, you guys. I love the first and last line. Winter is the time for comfort. It is the time for home. And that just makes my heart sing and speaks to me like few other words about this season do. And that is why I wanted to share those words with you all tonight. The wise words of British poet Dame Edith Sitwell about winter, and that it is a time for comfort. It is a time for home. All right. I want to ask you guys now to go to the comments and share with me. We were talking about winter. We were talking about how to make it a little bit more joyful, have some more comfort in our lives as the temperatures start to get colder, the days get shorter. I want you guys to share in the comments, what is your favorite wintertime activity or activities? What are some things you guys love to do in the winter months? Share with me. I can't wait to see what you guys say. There's all kinds of things, right, that we can do to have joy in the winter months. And thank you to everyone who shared, Georgie, Scott, Vicky, everyone who shared. Thank you so much. Take to the comments, you guys, and share with me now, what do you love to do in the winter? What are your favorite wintertime activities? And even for those of you, I know there are some people probably tuning in who don't love winter, right? But there's probably one or two things, maybe just something that you love to do in the wintertime. Jane says, Mount Vernon to see the Christmas camel. Yes, Scott and I love going to Mount Vernon as well, Jane, and we love Aladdin the Christmas camel. And we love him so much that I think 2 years ago when we were there, we bought the little plushed stuffed animal version of Aladdin so that our fur babies could have their very own Aladdin at home. And he is sitting under our Christmas tree as I speak. So that is a favorite at our house too. Jane, thank you for sharing that. I love that. Nicole says ice skating. Yes, that is a good one. Nicole, where are you tuning in from? Is it winter where you are? Is it cold enough? Is it ice skating weather yet? Um, I know in DC, one of my favorite things to do was to go to the sculpture garden outside the National Gallery of Art, where they do the ice rink every year. And I'm not a big ice skater personally. I'm like super klutzy and not very good at it. But I love to go get hot cocoa and sit on their little bench seating and watch the ice skaters. I love watching ice skating. So that is a great one, Nicole. Thank you. Scott says, yes, we love Mount Vernon. Vicky says, viewing the beautiful snow falling with a nice cup of coffee from the inside. Yes, a lot of people probably prefer being indoor kitties, especially where Mama Vicky is in the snow belt. Rose says, driving around and looking at Christmas lights. I love that too, Rose. And Mama Vicky, I love a good fresh snow myself. George says, traveling to warmer places, but maybe not this winter. Yes, yes. And that is one of the things that is even more challenging this season, that the pandemic public health restrictions are, changing what a lot of our familiar winter activities may look like. And so we're getting creative in new ways about what our fun winter activities can look like. So hopefully we can take some ideas away that don't have to involve travel to warmer places, although that can be a fun winter activity as well. Maryland, Nicole, not cold enough yet. Yeah, not here either. Although the days like today, I don't know if you're in the DC suburbs of Maryland, but it was windy as heck here today. It was what was the Winnie the Pooh? It's a blustery day outside today. Georgie says, baking Christmas cookies with her girls and grandchildren. Yes, I love baking cookies too. We always make cookies, even though we don't have human children here at our house. We still bake cookies and put them on a plate for Santa on Christmas Eve. And so Scott and I, and then of course we get to eat them ourselves. But we love to bake cookies too, Georgie, and that is a super fun winter activity. I love the winter months, you guys. I know not everybody does. Second only to autumn is winter in terms of my favorite seasons of the year. I just love all things warm and cozy. I like it when it starts to get dark a little bit earlier. It makes me want to light candles and turn on the fireplace and, get a nice warm cup of something, tea or cocoa, and snuggle up under a blanket and read a good book, right? I enjoy winter. I love a fresh snowfall. I'm blessed also to be able to work from home and not have to drive in it very frequently. But Nicole says, yes, DC suburbs, windy for her too today. Yeah, it was a blustery day. So I love winter, you guys. And I love all things about being snuggly and cozy and pulling out the blankets and turning on the fireplace and all of the things that come with the Christmas season that we celebrate here at home, from decorating the house to putting up the tree to the soft white lights and the way it just gives everything a different kind of glow this time of year. Those are some of my favorite things. Trish says, making and decorating gingerbread houses with her grandkids. Yes. Confession, I have never in my life ever made a gingerbread house. And I put that on our holiday bucket list for this year because it's going to look different this year for a lot of us. We usually have a house full of friends and family at the holidays, and this year is going to look a little bit different. And I said, darn it, we're going to do some new things. We're going to try some new things. We're going to have some new fun this year for the holidays. And we added making a gingerbread house to our list. So Trish, I might hit you up for some tips, for some decorating tips. So we just need to, we don't actually bake it. We're not planning to bake it, but we want to get one of those kits and do all the decorating. So I will share some pictures once we get our gingerbread house put together and decorated. But I'm excited for that this year. First time ever making a gingerbread house. All right, Georgia says, speaking of candles, are you making any Christmas candle scents? Yes, for those of you who might not know, I also I make candles, and I started making my own candles because I love lighting them all year round, but especially this time of year. And I started learning about things that were in traditional commercial candles, and I wanted to know what was in them and where it came from. And I started making my own, and it turned into a lovely little consciously aligned side business. So, Georgie, yes, to answer your question, you must have been reading my mind, because it is part of one of the tips I'm going to share a little bit later is about aromatherapy, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the cozier winter scents that I have, and I will be debuting my winter scent this week, and everybody who is tuning into Sparked is going to get a little sneak peek and a special sale code to go along with that. So thank you for asking. Trish says, let her know. Yes, I will, Trish. I will let you know, and I'll share pictures of that gingerbread house. I hope it turns out lovely. It's going to be a first time, so who knows? We'll see. But I am looking forward to doing that for the first time this year. All right, so I promised that we were going to play a few rounds of Winter is Coming trivia. And I shared a post a little bit earlier on Facebook, and I've used the phrase winter is coming, and those of you who watch the show Game of Thrones will recognize where that comes from. But I did promise our dear Georgie that you didn't have to watch Game of Thrones to be able to enjoy tonight's episode. And while I am 100% not breaking my promise, that is a true promise. You don't have to know anything about Game of Thrones to enjoy tonight's episode. You maybe need to know just a tiny bit about Game of Thrones to answer this trivia question, or at the very least have seen the viral meme. So our first trivia question of the night is, what Game of Thrones character was the first in the series to utter the phrase "winter is coming" and launch the viral meme that maybe many of us have seen floating around Facebook and other social media feeds, the "winter is coming" meme? What Game of Thrones character said it first? All right, I know my husband knows the answer to this. Does anybody, where are my Game of Thrones peeps? Who watches Game of Thrones or has at least seen the meme and knows what character said it first? Share your answers, your guesses in the comments. Mama Vicky says, starting in October, she burns one of my candles every night during the colder months. Thank you, Mama. I do too. We do. I light them up here in my office. We burn candles all the time, which is why I started making them. All right, we have some guesses starting to come through for trivia. Jane says, was it Jon Snow? I don't know, but he has a winter-themed last name, doesn't he? She's only seen a few episodes. All right, you guys, keep the guesses coming. I am going to move on to a little bit of tonight's content while you guys are sharing more trivia guesses in the comments. Okay, so tonight's episode is all about hygge and happiness. We know how to say hygge. Do we know what it is? And I can see more guesses coming up. Scott says, I think it might be Ned Stark. Sean Beam. Donna says she has no doubt that the gingerbread house will be impeccably decorated. I hope so. I don't know. I'm not a frosting piper, so I don't know. It's a total crapshoot for me. George says, only saw the last episode. All right, we have a Ned Stark guess and a Jon Snow guess, and I will give you guys the answer in just a minute. If anybody else has any guesses to which Game of Thrones character first said winter is coming. All right, but first, I want to talk a little bit about what hygge is, because now we know how to say it. Although, show of hands, you guys, and don't be afraid to say, who thought you pronounced it Hygge? Who thought you pronounced it Hygge when you saw the title of tonight's episode? Show of hands. I did. I'll admit it. I pronounced it Hygge for a very long time. I had no idea what it was or how to say it. I read an article about it and it sounded fun and cozy, and I just started calling it Hygge because that's what it looked like to me. And it wasn't until, I don't know, I bought my first book about it and there was like a little pronunciation in part of it, or I watched there was a segment on a show about it, that I learned that it's actually pronounced Hygge. So I was a Hygge sayer for a very, very long time. Donna also is guessing Jon Snow, which is, winter name. So who knows? Could be, right? Two good guesses so far. Yep, George says Hygge. Hygge for me. Dana, yep. Georgie, yeah. All of us. Hygge. We said Hygge. And in fact, we used to, Scott and I would joke around. We'd be, let's get Hygge with it. No, it's pronounced Hygge, you guys. And it's pronounced that way because it's actually a Danish concept from a Norwegian word. So, not going to get into like deep Scandinavian, geographical history here, but Norway and Denmark used to be all one country. So Hygge is a Danish concept that comes from a Norwegian word for well-being. Well-being. And you guys know, as a life and wellness coach and lifestyle designer, the concept of well-being is near and dear to my heart on every possible level. We talk about well-being here at Sparked all the time. Yeah, everybody pronounced Hygge. Scott says a Hygge is more fun to say. I agree. We can all still say Hygge if we want. In this space, we can call it Hygge. All right. But it is a Danish concept from the Norwegian word for well-being. And it doesn't have a direct translation to English, but it's just kind of this general feeling of coziness and conviviality and the sense of warmth and friendship and comfort, right? And you can see that it doesn't have a direct word that it translates to in English, but it's just this feeling of cozy warmth and conviviality. And for me, it brings to mind a phrase that we see a lot of around the holidays. It makes me think of the phrase, all is calm, all is bright. And that kind of feels very Hygge or Hygge to me. So let's send up some hearts for all is calm, all is bright, for cozy comfort and warmth, and for Hygge or Hygge. All right, so we had a lot of guesses on the trivia question. A couple of Jon Snows. We had a Ned Stark, and drumroll. My husband Scott was. I thought he knew this, but he was a guess. He's right though. It is Ned Stark, Lord Stark, whose full name is actually Eddard. Not Edward, but Eddard, because they all had interesting names on Game of Thrones. He was the King of the North, the paternal leader of the House of Stark, and he is famous for uttering the phrase in the very first episode of the show, I might add, winter is coming. And he was played, indeed, as Scott said in the comments, by the actor Sean Bean, who is always fabulous. And the meme that it inspired is the photo of Sean Bean, like, leaning on his sword with the winter is coming, right? And the, like, animal pelt cape and all the things. So, yes, it was Ned Stark, Lord Stark, King of the North, who said winter is coming. And he said that in Game of Thrones because they were the house that lived farthest north. Winter hit them first and hit them hardest. And they were always talking about preparing for winter. And, spoilers, but it took like 6 seasons for winter to finally get there in Game of Thrones. But it was worth the wait. Game of Thrones was one of our favorite shows. We actually binged the whole series shortly after the pandemic started, when we were all under the stay-at-home orders here in Northern Virginia. So, woohoo! Scott says for getting the answer correct is his prize a new kitten. I don't know, maybe. Let's get a new kitten because you answered a question right. Why the heck not? Um, there are a lot of kitties that need homes this time of year. So, yeah, that's your prize, new kitten. All right, we'll go tomorrow. Okay, you guys. So that was a trivia question, round 1. We now know what hygge is. That it's this Danish concept. For me, it's kind of this feeling of all is calm, all is bright, it's cozy, it's comfortable, right? It's a way to enjoy, for me, this time of year more. And I was living the concept of hygge before I even knew that it existed or what it was. This time of year, I'm always, pulling out the blankets and lighting the candles and doing all the things and making it as cozy and warm and bright as possible. And now we know that, the Danes and Norwegians invented this concept, centuries ago. And we can use this concept as a way to be more intentional about those things, right? So maybe we have always lit candles this time of year, right? Or do our favorite winter activities like ice skating or, gathering around the fire or whatever it is. But now we know that hygge in that part of the world is the intentional celebration of this season of winter, right? And I'm going to share some tips for cultivating hygge in our homes and in our hearts, kind of year round, right? Like in the Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, when Scrooge says, I keep Christmas in my heart all year round, we're going to keep hygge in our hearts all year round. And even though it's typically has to do more with like the winter season, things can be cozy, things can have a hygge feeling even in the spring and in the summer. But we're going to talk about some tips for cultivating hygge during the winter months. But first, I have trivia question number 2, round 2 for Winter is Coming trivia. And the question is, what astronomical event marks the beginning of winter in the Northern Hemisphere? What astronomical event marks the beginning of winter in the Northern Hemisphere? So see, I promise. There's just that one Game of Thrones trivia question. The winter is coming tie-in. You don't have to know anything about Game of Thrones to enjoy the rest of the show or answer any of the other trivia questions. Although House Stark can teach us a few things about hygge by the way they dressed and the way they lived and the candlelight that was always, blazing in their castle in the north. They were a very hygge people there, the House of Stark. All right, so trivia question round 2. What astronomical event marks the beginning of winter in the Northern Hemisphere? Give your guesses in the comments. And while you are doing that, before we get to the hygge tips, I want to share this week's moment of joy, which is a very winter-inspired moment of joy. All right, so while you guys are guessing what astronomical event marks the beginning of winter in the Northern Hemisphere, this week's moment of joy is winter-inspired as well. And you guys, there is a wildlife rehabilitation center in Lubbock, Texas, that has been met with this outpouring of community support after taking in a rare baby possum with no fur. And here is her story. Nicole is guessing winter solstice. Trish says Hygge to find peace in stress and depression. Yes, Hygge for all the good things, for battling stress, battling depression. Vicky says solstice. Donna says equinox. All right, keep those guesses coming, you guys. I'm going to share this week's moment of joy. And it's about a little baby possum born with no fur. And in fact, the executive director of the Wildlife Rehab Center said when the rescuer brought this animal in a box, she just looked in briefly. She thought it was a hairless cat. But upon closer inspection, she realized that it was a possum with no fur. And in the wild, you guys, that is a death sentence for a baby possum because they are unable to regulate body temperature without their fur. And even though it's Lubbock, Texas, it gets cold there and the temperature would drop and that baby would have frozen to death had she not been rescued. So, and even though she was rescued before it is winter and the temperatures dropped too much, she was still even hypothermic already when they brought her into the wildlife rehab center. So she went directly in to an incubator and they knew that she was going to need some more help to, get through the winter season. So she was going to need what we all need. She needed a winter wardrobe, you guys, a winter wardrobe, because she was never going to grow that fur. A veterinarian diagnosed her with alopecia, which is an inherited condition, and it means she also has a compromised immune system. So she's never going to be able to be released back into the wild, and she's going to need some winter clothes. So South Plains Wildlife Rehab Center put a post up on Facebook asking for donations for this little baby possum for a winter wardrobe to help her get through this season and survive. And the response has been overwhelming. People sending in clothes that they had already for their small animals. There's like guinea pig sweaters and baby kitten and puppy sweaters and all the things. People are actually knitting her sweaters. Okay, so she has oodles and oodles of clothes for winter. She has become a local celebrity. She's been featured on the local news. I found this story on the Today Show website, and she is going to be featured in the December issue of People magazine. This little baby possum has become a sensation, you guys. And she doesn't have a name yet because she's still incubating. She's still eating and getting stronger and gaining weight. But once she is out of that phase, she is going to be recruited by the Wildlife Center to be one of their education outreach animals. She will go on their official roster. She will be given a name and she will make her debut as an education animal in the community. And in the show notes that I will publish tomorrow, there will be a link to the South Plains Wildlife Rehabilitation Center's Facebook page where you can just scroll to your heart's content and look at pictures of this baby possum in her sweaters, because there are many and she is adorable. And I think today she was wearing purple, if I'm not mistaken. It's a good color on her. So big hearts, big hearts, you guys, for our little baby possum who doesn't have a name yet, so we'll just call her LP. Big hearts for LP, for her rescuer who brought her into the center. Big hearts for the South Plains Wildlife Rehabilitation Center and all of those amazing donors who knit her sweaters and made sure that she stayed snuggly and warm and safe and could survive this winter and grow up to be a wildlife animal ambassador in the community. All right, you guys, how's that for a moment of joy? I love stories like that. I love animal rescue stories. All right, big hearts for LP, her rescuers, her donors, and the South Plains Wildlife Rehab Center. All right, you guys, we have a lot of guesses for the astronomical event that marks the beginning of winter in the Northern Hemisphere. Nicole was the first to guess winter solstice. We have a couple of equinoxes and a couple other solstices. Georgie, Scott, Trish, Vicky. Nicole, you are correct. Yes, it is the winter solstice. So Nicole and everyone else who guessed solstice, winter solstice. Now there's a summer solstice. So Nicole was specific and she is correct. It is the winter solstice that marks the beginning of winter in the Northern Hemisphere. And it's not always on the same date every year. It's literally about the position of the sun at a particular time as it lines up with a line of latitude 25 degrees south of the Tropic of Capricorn, I think. Capricorn or Cancer, I can't remember now. But it is a very specific position of the sun, and it happens anywhere from December 20th to the 22nd every year. This year, the winter solstice will occur at exactly 5:02 a.m. on Monday, December 21st. That will be the first day of winter, the official start of winter, the astronomical winter. Now, the meteorological winter, they say, starts on December 1st, but real season of winter starts on December 21st, which is a Monday, which means we're going to be here for an episode of Sparked. So there's going to be some fun winter Sparked stuff happening that night. And I can't wait to share that with you guys on the 21st of December, 1 month from today. All right. Now, I promised I was going to share some tips and resources for cultivating hygge in our homes and in our hearts, and to help us get through this season of winter with a little bit more comfort and a little bit more joy. So we're going to dive into some tips right now. I have 7 tips and 7 of my favorite things that I want to share with you guys for resources. All right, tip number 1 for cultivating hygge in our homes and in our hearts. Let's all be like Lil LP, our little possum friend. Let's all be like her and get our winter wardrobes ready, all right? Let's dress for cozy comfort, you guys. I know for me, I love nothing more than like cashmere and fleece and flannel and all of the like super soft textures and fabrics that tell me it is time for winter. And who remembers, like, and maybe some of y'all still do this, swapping out like your spring and summer clothes for like your fall and winter clothes, that like switch of the clothing? Who swapped those out? Who would pack away clothes for the seasons, and every year around this time you would like be pulling out all your fall and your winter clothes, right? Winter, the big winter coats would come out and all of those things. You would maybe swap them, you know, your summer lighter coats into a different closet and bring out the puffers and the ski wear and all of those things. I'm surprised no one said skiing as a favorite winter activity. The closest we got was Nicole with ice skating, but I grew up in the mountains of rural southwestern Pennsylvania near ski resorts, and that was like the only dang thing there was to do in our town in the winter. But I haven't been skiing in a very long time, although Scott and I have talked about going a couple times. Actually, we've talked about it, and maybe trying to take up cross-country skiing because it's also a great workout. All right, so tip number 1, let's break out those winter wardrobes, you guys. Let's get cozy with our favorite sweaters, right? Flannel PJs. Like, who doesn't love a good pair of flannel PJs this time of year? So let's dress for cozy comfort. Tip number 1, weathering the season, cultivating some hygge in our lives. All right, tip number 2, make your home as cozy and warm as possible. As cozy and warm as possible. And it's not just about temperature, right? It's about a feeling. Coziness and warmth. Yes, it's about, is it warm in here? Am I freezing? Am I warm and cozy? But it's also just about a feeling that our homes can evoke this time of year. Yes, Vicky loves her some flannel PJs. Dana says snow skiing is super fun. Vicky, summer clothes in one closet, cold weather clothes in another. Yep. This clothing swap. All right, so we're gonna make our homes as warm and cozy as possible. And it's not just about cranking up the heat, right? It's about pulling out our snuggly blankets, right? Like, who doesn't love a good like faux fur blanket or a Sherpa fleece blanket this time of year? I have baskets and baskets and ottomans that have the storage lids full of blankets all over the house. And we pull those out this time of year and snuggle under blankets to watch TV. So pull out those blankets. I also swap out accessories in different rooms of the house this time of year. So we actually have throw pillows, because you can swap out accessories really easily, right? It's a great way to change the look and feel of rooms in your home for holiday seasons and for seasons of the year, for spring, summer, fall, and winter. And we have different throw pillows as well that we use in the autumn and winter months. They are faux fur. So it's a great way to incorporate different textures and to also just change the look and feel of different rooms in your house based on the seasons. So it's time to pull out the blankets, guys. The cozy faux fur pillows or the flannel pillows, right? if you have a fireplace, it's time to use it. It is time to use it. I love a good roaring fire this time of year. Dana says she's in Florida. She has to turn the AC to a very cold temp because she loves to bundle up in her flannel lounge pants and a fleece top. Can't wait for cooler temps. Yes. I love living in a place where we get to experience 4 seasons of the year. Now, sometimes, it here in the DC area, in the suburbs, we're in Northern Virginia, it's kind of like you get a week of autumn, a couple months of winter-ish, and then it's like summer for, 8.5 months of the year, right? And 99% humidity. But I do love those colder months, and pulling out the blankets and the textured pillows. And I love me my flannel PJs and all of those things. Using the fireplace, turning on the fireplace. And you guys, even if you don't have a fireplace, but you love the way a fire can cozy up a room, I'm not making this up. You can buy fireplace DVDs. I know this because I had one before I lived in a house that had a working fireplace. I would put on my big screen TV, my fireplace DVD during the winter. And now that we have things like Netflix and Amazon Video, Prime Video, all of those things, you can actually also stream fireplace to your TV. So even if you don't have a fireplace, you can still bring kind of that cozy feeling of the look of a fire into the rooms of your house. And I will share a link to one that, because we don't like turn the fireplace on and just leave it running all day long around here, right? I mean, I would, but Scott has rules about those things, so we don't. But I will turn on the TV, and I have a favorite holiday themed fireplace show on Amazon Prime Video that has smooth jazz, holiday music playing, and just the fireplace burning. So yes, Dana says the fireplace channel. Absolutely, you guys. So even if you don't have a fireplace, you can bring the coziness of that into your home. All right, tip number 3. Georgie opened the lid on this one when she asked about my candles earlier, but tip number 3 is aromatherapy. Aromatherapy. And before I go into the details on this one, Trish says she wants an electric fireplace in her house. Yes, I've seen those. They make those now that you can move them around from room to room, and they just plug in and you can turn them. And they actually throw off heat, so it's also like a heating source as well. I need that for my office. My office is kind of a cold room in our house, and so that would be a good accessory. Put that on my Christmas list, Scott. But okay, so aromatherapy. Before I dive into this particular tip, I want you guys to take to the comments and share with me, what are your favorite winter smells? What are your favorite scents that say winter to you? What are your favorite winter scents, or a scent that you like to smell that just feels like winter to you? Share with me in the comments, because winter is a great season for aromatherapy, and it can warm up the feeling of a room, and it can also just bring seasonal scents into a room, right? And as I mentioned, Scott says cinnamon. Yes, my favorite, one of my favorites as well. I am launching we talked about winter is coming. Winter is coming, you guys. Winter the season and winter the candle. Winter is coming. My signature winter scent is launching this week, and it is a combination of Fraser fir and fresh snow. Kind of that like environmental, cool, fresh snow smell. What was that movie from way back called like Smila's Sense of Snow? She could like smell snow or something. Scott says cinnamon. Jane says cloves and pine needles. Vicky says cinnamon, apple, and spices. Georgie says balsam. Yes, these are all great winter scents, you guys. Georgie says apple cinnamon also. So my winter candle is a combination of Fraser fir and fresh snow. And I love that like pininess. We don't do a real Christmas tree. Our tree is up for like, I don't know, like 6 or 7 weeks, sometimes maybe even longer. Maybe this year even longer because, um, a lot of people are decorating early. We already put our tree up. We haven't decorated it yet, but the tree is in the corner and the lights are on, making it feel cozy and bright. All is calm, all is bright. And so we don't have a real tree to bring that pine, that fir scent right into our home. But I love a candle that will do that for me. And that is why I chose that scent in particular for my winter candle, so that I could have that scent in my home without the benefit of a real tree. George says pine cone scented with cinnamon. Trish says pumpkin pie spice, caramel apple. Yes, I actually do a pumpkin and clove candle also. We are just at the very tail end of that. And that will go away when winter comes out this week. And you guys will have the very first access to my shopping sale code for the week before it goes out anywhere else. Viewers of this show who check the show notes tomorrow, and I will post a comment to let you guys know when the show notes go live, but they're usually up between 12 and 1 p.m. So go to the show notes on my website, abercurt.com, under the tab live show. And in the show notes, there will be a code for you all viewers of Sparked. And not only will you have the earliest access to the sale, but your code is going to be a little bit bigger of a sale than anyone else is going to have access to, because y'all come here week after week. You are my tribe. You are this community. You are each other's tribe. And I love you all. And you get a little something special, which is a bigger sale than anyone else. So check the show notes tomorrow. The winter candle will go live and you will have access to an exclusive sale code just for viewers of Sparked. Vicky says, awesome, candles and a sale. Yes, indeed. Tis the season. Tis the season for a good sale. I also have a candle called Cozy, which is a combination of a smoked vanilla and spices like clove and nutmeg and a little bit of cinnamon. It kind of smells like cookies baking kind of thing. And for those of you who may not know, all of my candles are coconut wax based. So they are all natural wax. They are all, fragrance is all phthalate free, so no harmful chemicals in the fragrance, which is why I started making my own, because I wanted to know what was in them and where it came from. And they are all infused with natural essential oils as well. So let's send up some hearts for some natural aromatherapy in the winter months. And I have one more aromatherapy tip that doesn't involve my own candles, and that is to simmer stovetop potpourri. So a lot of people were talking about apples and spices and clove and nutmeg and all of those kinds of scents. And you can whip up a great stovetop potpourri in a saucepan and just turn it on super low on your stove and infuse your home with whatever scents you want to put in your cook pot. And my only caveat is just make sure that all the water doesn't like bubble away and everything dries up and sticks to the pot and may or may not catch on fire or just ruin a pan. I may or may not be speaking from experience on that front. I learned the hard way, so you don't have to. Don't let all the water boil away. But a good stovetop potpourri is another great way to have some seasonal aromatherapy in your home this time of year. And thank you to everyone who has made your sweet comments about my candles. Mama Vicky, Georgie, thank you so much. Trish is allergic to cedars and pines. Ooh, okay, good to know. All right, you guys, so that was tip number 3, aromatherapy, scented candles, a stovetop potpourri. Great ways to infuse your home with some scent, bring those favorite scents of the season into the coziness, the Hygge-ness, right? The hygge of our homes and our hearts this time of year. All right. Tip number 4, speaking of simmering on the stovetop, one of my other favorite things to do this time of year is sip a steaming hot cup of something, a steaming hot cup of something. Like this, my Hallmark Channel mug. Well, one of them, because this time of year, Hallmark Channel can just take all my money. But I love a good cup of cocoa from scratch, a great tea. This time of year, my coffee. I mean, coffee is my first thing I do in the morning is brew fresh coffee every day. So sip a steaming cup of something, right, is another great tip for hygge. And it's not just about what we sip, right, but it's about our comfort food too, what we eat. It's about the act itself of cooking, of baking. We can bake something. And there's also an aromatherapy component in our cooking and baking, right? Slow cook something, right? So this is the season. Break out those comfort foods. Break out those hot cuppas of tea or coffee or cocoa or whatever it is you love. Jane has a great tip and says you can make potpourri with apple cider too. That is a great tip, Jane. Thank you for sharing that. All right. Dana says if you have a warming center on your stovetop, you can put a candle on a plate and put it on low. In about a half hour, you'll have a melty candle that is filling the house with glorious smells. Ooh, good to know. Good to know. Apple cider potpourri, melty candles on the warmer burner. All right, mulled cider. Yes, yes. I love hot and cold cider and sparkling cider this time of year. In fact, I am going to, in the next episode, share one of my favorite cocktail recipes for a sparkling cider infused holiday cocktail, but that's for another time. All right, but yes, tip number 4, what we eat, what we drink, how we cook, what we bake, all great ways to bring some hygge into our homes and our hearts for this season. Okay. Tip number 5. Do a hygge hobby. And what, pray tell, would a hygge hobby be, you ask? Well, it's anything that kind of slows you down a little bit, right? We've already said hygge is about all is calm, all it's bright, it's comfortable, it's warm, it's slower. So it's not, go-kart racing. It's not computer games. In fact, in this book, the little book of hygge that I'm going to share as a resource in a minute, there is a great list of things that in a survey, they gave a list of things to rank what the Danes associate with hygge. And number 1, highest rated thing, hot drinks. Hot drinks, number 1. Number 2, candles. Number 3, fireplaces. Number 4, Christmas. And number 5, something that constitutes a hygge hobby, board games. Now, things that are like way at the bottom of the list, computer games, sports. And I think they probably mean like, televised, like rowdy sports, not like, I don't know, fun winter sport like skiing or something. Last on the list is Facebook, but that doesn't pertain to Facebook live shows about hygge, right? Okay. So, hygge hobbies, board games, jigsaw puzzles. You guys, we love to do jigsaw puzzles around here. Not just this time of year, but we've been doing them. Well, my mom loves doing puzzles all year round. That is like her full-time job. She loves doing puzzles, and she kind of got us into, we'll puzzle with her, and then we were sort of like, we should start doing puzzles, for a fun couple activity too. So we started doing puzzles early on in the pandemic, and we've gotten a bunch of like holiday and winter themed puzzles. So those are some hygge hobbies: puzzles, board games, crafting, any kind of tactile, right, Luddite, if you will, anything that's not technology driven, right? So like crafting, scrapbooking, knitting, crocheting. These are all hygge hobbies that allow us to just kind of slow down, enjoy the season, and bring some warmth and comfort. And, if we are celebrating the winter season with others in our homes, allow us to kind of do those activities together too, right? Board games, puzzles. So do a hygge hobby. All right. Tip number six. Tip number six is queue up some hygge on your TV. Queue up some hygge on your TV in the form of movies or TV shows. And you guys, speaking of 'tis the season, one of my favorite things to do this time of year is to binge watch a good Hallmark Channel movie marathon. Trish says puzzles. Yes, let's hear it for puzzles. Like I said, Hallmark Channel is my jam. And, I have married a guy who, also loves it and indulges me and watches all of that stuff, sappy movies with me. And we love a good Hallmark holiday movie. And 'tis the season. I think they started their holiday movies like Halloween this year. And they go through New Year's. Jane says the Great British Baking Show. Yes, Jane, you turned me on to that show. That is another great one. Hallmark movies, the Great British Baking Show. Scott and I just discovered a new favorite series that it just has a hygge feel to it for me. Virgin River on Netflix. So you can stream this show. It's called Virgin River. The first series of it dropped last year. We just discovered it. And just in time, because we just learned that season 2 is dropping this Friday. And it's set in this beautiful, it's probably filmed in Canada, but it's supposed to be this beautiful mountain, small town in Northern California in Humboldt County. And it's about a nurse from LA who relocates to a small town. And it's just this beautiful story. The characters are really complex and well drawn. And it's not just a show with a strong female lead character. So it's not just a show, for women to relate to and love. The male characters in the show are great as well. There's some great, strong male lead characters, really complex, story-driven themes. So can't recommend Virgin River highly enough. It's like our new favorite show. Vicky says, remember last year when we played Hallmark Bingo? Yes, y'all. Speaking of ways that Hallmark Channel takes all my money this time of year, they sell Hallmark Channel merchandise on Hallmark.com, and you can actually buy bingo cards that you play bingo while you're watching Hallmark holiday movies and fill in your bingo card and get bingo from Hallmark movies. So you can actually buy those on the Hallmark website and play along with the Hallmark Channel holiday shows. And you guys, there's also an actual TV network called Cozy. There is a TV network called Cozy, and it's Cozy, it's COZI, and I know that it is part of the FiOS package here in Northern Virginia. So we have FiOS. Cozy is one of the television networks that we have access to with our FiOS package. I don't know if it is part of like Verizon or other cable packages, but we get Cozy here in Northern Virginia, Cozy with an I. And the hook of this network is an NBC Universal owned network, but they only show classic television shows. So, and it goes all the way back to the 50s. So there are shows like I Love Lucy, the black and white episodes of I Love Lucy. Vicky says she watches Cozy all the time. Yes, love Cozy. Turn Cozy on for my mom a lot. It's like I Love Lucy, Little House on the Prairie, you guys. Speaking of like hygge shows from my childhood, I loved Little House on the Prairie, Murder, She Wrote, which is another favorite here in our house. So it's all like classic TV shows, Cozy, the television network, Hallmark Channel movies, Great British Baking Show, and Virgin River, which is the new favorite kind of cozy feeling series that we're watching here in our house, with a season 2 dropping on Netflix on Friday. All right. Final tip for cultivating hygge in our homes and in our hearts all year round is, we just talked about bingo, and I have created a Hygge and Happiness bingo card for you guys. A Hygge and Happiness bingo card. There will be a link to it in the show notes that we'll publish tomorrow with a downloadable and printable PDF file. And it is a Hygge and Happiness bingo card. And it is 24 ideas, things like a couple things that we may have already talked about here, like a stovetop potpourri might be on there. It also, download it tomorrow, download it early, because it starts with, if you want to fill up your bingo card, one of the things on the bingo card is watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade on Thursday. And this can carry you through the whole season with different activities to do through the holiday season and through the winter months. So there is a Hygge and Happiness bingo card that I will link to in the show notes tomorrow that I created just for you guys, with 24 fun and unique ways to celebrate hygge and keep it in your home and in your hearts all season long. All right, you guys, final trivia question of the night. We are coming up to the end of the show. Final trivia question of the night. What country is home to the snowiest city on Earth? What country is home to the snowiest city on Earth? What country? Snowiest city on Earth. You guys, give me your guesses in the comments. And while you're doing that, I'm going to tell you about this week's charity. You guys, I mentioned at the top of the show, you'll see links to support our community and content. It is because of viewers like you that we keep this show and original content up and running week after week after week. And every single week here at Sparked, we pay it forward with a 10% contribution to charity, doing important work in our local communities and across the country. And this week's charity is World Central Kitchen. And you guys, it is a time of year that we think about our friends and neighbors who may be experiencing food insecurity, may be experiencing hunger in some way. And World Central Kitchen is a global hunger fighting organization founded by Chef Jose Andres in 2010. He is one of my personal heroes. He wrote an amazing book called We Fed an Island, about the work they did to help rebuild Puerto Rico and feed people after Hurricane Maria. And he is just a humanitarian at a totally different level, you guys. He is out there on the front lines with his organization, feeding people, helping to rebuild communities after natural disasters, and during times like the pandemic that we are experiencing right now, where food insecurity has become a new fact of life for hundreds of thousands of more people in our country and around the world. So you guys, and they have served literally tens of millions of meals to individuals and families in need all over the world. They're responding, as I speak, to Hurricane Iota in Central America. World Central Kitchen, founded by Chef Jose Andres, is this week's charity. So if you are considering making a contribution to help support the show, 10% will be paid forward to World Central Kitchen. All right, we have some guesses for what country is host to the snowiest city on Earth. We have Russia, we have Greenland, Antarctica, another Russia, USA, Canada, Iceland. Great guesses, you guys, all great guesses. No one guessed the answer, though. No one guessed Japan. Who would have thunk it, right? No one here. I had no idea. Japan, you guys, is home to Aomori City in the northern part of the country, which receives more snowfall than any other major city on the planet. More snowfall than any other city on the planet. An average of, you guys, wait for it, 312 inches of snow on average every year, which translates to 26 feet of snow falls in Aomori City in Japan. Japan, home to the snowiest city on the planet. 26 feet of snow on average, So that means some years they get more. Now some years they get less. 26 feet on average per year. You guys, that's nuts. All right. I love a good snowfall, but I'm glad we don't get 26 feet of snow here. That's our show for tonight, you guys. I have 7 of my favorite things for Hygge and happiness this time of year that I will share in the show notes with links to every single thing that I've talked about tonight. There are some great books like the one that I shared earlier, The Little Book of Hygge, that will be in my show notes for tomorrow as part of my list of favorite things. So check the show notes. There will also be your exclusive code to do some candle shopping if your heart desires. And some, great tips that we shared tonight, as well as that downloadable bingo card. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being here on this Monday before Thanksgiving. I have loved spending this evening with you and talking about Hygge and happiness, which are 2 of my favorite things to talk about this time of year. So, all right, you guys, be good to each other. Be good to yourselves. Have a wonderful, happy and Hygge Thanksgiving. Break out your bunny slippers, because that's what I'm putting on after the show. Break out your bunny slippers, get cozy, and I will see you back here next week for our monthly Let's Get Lit book discussion. And this month we are going to be talking about the book 100 Ways to Be Kind, because 'tis the season, y'all. I will be talking about my favorite takeaways from the book 100 Ways to Be Kind back here next week. All right. Mwah. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here and spending this evening with me. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful, happy, and Hygge Thanksgiving. And I will see you next Monday. Take care. Good night.